Well, good morning, cyber friends. This is Mitty Man coming out again at you from Walker's Music. We get another word, and this is not this necessarily say a word for today's segment as I usually do, but this is more of a music ministry announcement, and so that's why I call this here video the music ministry moment. In other words, I say it's a music ministry minute. In other words, and I want to kind of bring all of the Levites and my fellow Levites and upcoming Levites, in other words, those that are in training, to try to bring them up to date on a few things that are happening around Walker's Music and my Mitty Man's music ministry himself. And really and truly, my ministry is very simple. I aim to do my best as far as worship in the house of the Lord. And as a matter of fact, I'm not an entertainer. I'm going to let you know that straight up. I am not an entertainer. I never had a really desire to do any entertaining from day one. I never wanted music to be an entertainer in the show business. I never wanted to be, that was not my cup of tea. I wanted to play in order to be in worship. I had a few friends that matter of fact, two of my biggest buddies, my best friends right up as of this date. I've often mentioned, I told y'all about Brother Daryl Johnson and Brother Floyd Carr. Those two of my best friends and best buddies, and in the music industry, in the music ministry. Now, my two buddies now, they are involved with some more my buddies and my friends. I really call them my friends because, as a matter of fact, they're involved with the group Perfect Praise. Y'all have heard me talk about Perfect Praise on many other occasions. Perfect Praise consists of Brother Daryl Johnson, Floyd Carter, also Brother Sean Murphy, and Larry and Felton Murphy. In other words, we call them Sean and Pete. And matter of fact, Brother Freddie Somerset, those are the five of the singers. In other words, their drummer, if I'm not mistaken, their drummers, the main drummer, I believe, is Brother Andre Brown. In other words, and also I call him my little nephew. That's Daryl's nephew, Donnie. In other words, Donnie also does drumming for the group as well. And at one particular point in time, Floyd's nephew, which I call him my nephew as well, Jeffrey Newberry Jr., and we call him Jeff Jr., and he's also done some outstanding drummers, all three of them, very good drummers. And as a matter of fact, this whole group is very awesome musicians and singers. And so, yes, I am prejudiced. I brag on them, yes, I do. And they are not bragging on themselves, so I am doing it, so it's okay. But at any rate, what I was saying is the music ministry, those of you that have visited my website, walkersmusic.com, very simple, walkersmusic.com, my last name with an S, music.com. In other words, you've seen some various things on my website. I try to keep it simple. I just keep everybody up to date on what I'm trying to do. But there's a clinic, a musician's clinic there, that I put up for quite some time. And I've heard people ask about, they want instruction, and there's nothing wrong with trying to seek knowledge. You should always try to seek knowledge. And I'm just saying that I've had that up there now for quite some time. And I've heard people say they are seeking, whether either they want to play or whatever. But nevertheless, people are not taking advantage of services that are out there. Well, I'm just going to say it like this, you don't have to be educated, in other words, in order to be successful in life. Matter of fact, we have a lot of billionaires and millionaires alike that they didn't even finish high school. It's not a requirement. But nevertheless, it's called what they did. They said hard work and being blessed and having common sense. But I often tell people that common sense is not really common sense. If it was, then everybody would have some. Sense is not common. But there, when you do not take advantage of opportunities that are out there for you to increase in your learning and get some more knowledge, there's something wrong with that picture. Nevertheless, let me be the first to say that I know a lot of musicians. I know a lot of them that never had any form of musical training that are outstanding, awesome musicians. So you don't have to know all theory in order to be a good musician. But in order for you to be a well-rounded musician, you need to have some knowledge. And like I said, nothing wrong with knowledge. And when we reject knowledge and instructing people, you know, that's scripture. You know, God said, because you reject knowledge, I'm going to reject you. In other words, anytime, and then see, don't try to be so selective on whom you get instruction from. See, you never know. It's not always the man in the suit and tie that can tell you something, but it's the man that pushed the broom and wearing the white hat that might be able to tell you something. See, we got to pick and choose about who we think are qualified, but you never know. And so that's how come I came to say this, and a lot of people know. Matter of fact, I got a website, walkersmusic, like I said, .com, and I got a web email address, and you can get me by my email address and my website, which is very, very easy. It's just my name, my full name, at walkersmusic.com. So all you have to do is just go Ernest J. Walker, one word, small cap, at walkersmusic.com. That's where you can get in contact with me, as well as Matt at hotmail.com. I use that one more, but I just wanted everybody to know that and I'm going to put that in the description of this video, hopefully. My web address, my web email, so you can get me at Ernest J. Walker, all small cap, at walkersmusic.com. And just to put a cap on this here, to round it up, I'm letting everybody know that well, Midi-Man has started a new, in other words, embarked on a new journey. We are going to go forward. We got some things that we got some dreams and some aspirations that we are going to reach, if it be the Lord's will. Everything is according to the Lord's will. It's just like, if you remember, y'all, we read the scripture. Elijah asked for a minstrel. Bring me someone that can play well. David employed over 4,000 musicians in the temple. Skilled musicians. In other words, we need to be skilled. Now, let me tell you something, people. Ministers of music, you cannot call yourself a minister of music if you at least cannot do the basic functions of musicianship across the board. I'll just be the first to tell you that. You cannot call yourself a minister of music. I don't care what the people are calling you. But if you cannot at least do the basics of musicianship, now like I told you, you don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to be well formally trained in classical music. And you don't have to know everything across the board. But you need to be able to do your basic thing. Number one, you should be able to play in all 12 keys. You should be able to give voicing. If you don't know how to give voicing, and you don't know how to play in all 12 keys, point blank, if you can't do those two basic things, then you cannot really call yourself a minister of music, because you're going to shortchange the worship service. You don't know how to instruct the choir. If you don't know how to give voice, you can't instruct the choir. You can't lead them nowhere. See, you can't lead nowhere you never been, people. So this is how come I say you need some sort of training, someone that is knowledgeable. It ain't got to be Midi-Man. It can be anyone that's got the knowledge. They can train you into these certain aspects of musicianship and get you ready for the employment of the local church as a minister of music. Now, I just named two basic things. Those are in my opinion, those are two most important tools of musicianship that a minister of music should possess. He should be able to play in all 12 keys, and should have a pretty decent ear, and should be able to give voices. Therefore, what I mean by that, should be at least, even if they don't read music, but they got the ear, they know how to give voices and teach a choir. See, those, I didn't say they had to read music. I said they should know how to give voices and teach a choir. See, that doesn't require you to read music, but if you at least can look at it, I ain't talking about sight reading, that's a whole different ball game. A lot of people think when you say read music, that means that you can put a piece of music in front of a person and they just play it. No, that's sight reading. That's a whole different skill set and another gift entirely. You don't have to be no great sight reader to be a minister of music. Because I'm not that great of a sight reader myself. Oh, yeah, of course. I can read some basic stuff. Because when I started taking lessons, I did a lot of cheating. I watched my hands, and I shouldn't have done that. And that shortchanged me from being an expert or real good at sight reading. Meaning what? Put a piece of music in front of me, and I could just tear off and start playing it. But I tell you what, I'm not afraid. I can read everything on these pages. I know everything there. I even know why it's there. But that's called for my formal training. But I can get, if you give me a song, I guarantee you, if it's a very difficult song, it's for me for sight reading. It ain't got to be too difficult because I just cannot really do great sight reading. But I guarantee you, if you give me that music and give me a little while with it, don't give me about an hour or two with it, I guarantee I'll play it after that. Because I know what I'm looking at. These are the things that a minister of music must be, the tools that we must have in order to call ourselves a minister of music. We have to have a good ear. We need to be able to play in all 12 keys. And also a #1 requirement of that being a minister of music, you must be humble. You got to be able to relate to people on all levels. You cannot be arrogant. And see, I've seen a lot of us musicians, we are so arrogant. We get beside ourselves because of people brag on our gift, and then we forget and we lose focus of who gave us the gift and the reason why he gave us the gift. We lose focus of that. So that's how come I'm saying, people, I got a clinic there. And for any musician, any beginning musician, whether you know a little bit about music or nothing at all, but if you really want to get the real, true MIDI man to take you as far as I can take you. Now, I've been classically trained. I got to admit, thank God for that, because I did go to school. And I just didn't rely on my ear alone. I did go to school, and I learned, and I studied. So therefore, I was classically trained. In other words, I know about Bach, Mozart, Bartok, all of them. I know about those, and I can play some of those studies that they wrote. From Johann Sebastian Bach, I know about all Beethoven. I was classically trained. Don't worry. In other words, I can teach you everything about music theory from the very basic all the way up to the top level advanced. I am qualified to do what I want to do, and I stand behind. If I can tell you everything what you need to know in music theory, I don't care what it is, from the diatonic harmony. In other words, I've seen, I'm going to say this and I'm going to cut this video off, but this just to reinforce what I'm saying, that knowledge is all right. I've seen musicians, there's nothing wrong, but I'm just going to set the record straight. I've seen musicians that teach online, and they be, teaching songs and everything, and we thank God for them. But I've noticed a lot of them, they'll say, they be in a particular key. Let's just say, for instance, they're in the key of D, and they are showing and they're telling, they're trying to show and illustrate how the chords go. In other words, in the key of D, you got the scale. From the scale of D, you got D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. Those are the diatonic. That's the diatonic scale in the key of D. In other words, you got a F sharp and you got a C sharp. But no, most of the time when they get to the third degree of the scale, and they be talking about building a chord on the third degree of the scale, which is if you're on the third degree and you build a scale in the key of D off the F sharp, you got F sharp minor. That's the third degree, F sharp minor, because you got the F sharp, you got the A, and the C sharp. That makes F sharp minor. Well, I've seen them, they'll say G flat. They'll call that G flat. And then they'll say G flat, this is the third degree, this is the third degree of the scale. We're gonna build a G, they say F sharp minor, but then they say G flat A, C sharp, or maybe they might even say this. I've seen some of them say C sharp, A, and then they'll say D flat. Well, you see, first of all, that is totally theoretically wrong, because of the fact that if you in the key of D, that's a sharp key. That F is sharp. Every time you hit an F, unless otherwise noted by a natural sign, or accidental we call it, unless it's noted, that F is always going to be sharp in the key of D, unless otherwise noted. You cannot call it G flat. The only time that becomes, it's in harmonic. It's in harmonic. That's the name for a key that got two different note names. F sharp and G flat the same note, but in the key of D, it's F sharp. The only time that becomes G flat is if you're in the key in a flat key. For instance, D flat. If you're in the key of D flat, that F sharp becomes G flat. Okay, for that Kemosabe, I got that from my brother Casper on LearnGospelMusic.com. We thank God for him and his ministry. Let's back it up a little bit. If you you said I said that you notice that I said in a flat key that would ought to be G flat. Well, what about if you're in the key of E flat? What would that F become? What would that F become? And see, in other words, if you're in the key of E flat, that same F now it becomes E. It's an F natural if you're in the key of E flat. Why? Because the F is neither sharp, neither is there a G flat in the key of E. In the key of E flat. In the key of E flat, there are no G flats. There's a G and an F. F being the second degree of the scale, G being the third degree of the scale, and then the A flat is the fourth degree, and the B flat is the fifth degree. So if you're in the key of E flat and you want to build a chord on the third degree of the scale, you will have a what? G minor, because the B is all naturally flat, and then the D is naturally, in other words, it's natural. It's neither flat or it's neither sharp in the key of E flat. In the key of E flat, that D is the leading tone, which is D natural, and then it's the leading tone going to E flat. So it's the seventh degree of the scale. So this is how come I say that it's according to what key you're in that will determine whether you use the F sharp or whether you use the G flat. Same thing goes with in any of the accidental, the A flat, which could be also G sharp, and it also can be A flat. In other words, it can be A flat, it can be G sharp. So in other words, that's inharmonic. But there's another thing that a lot of musicians don't know, that an A flat can also be a B double flat. See, that's a whole entirely different thing. And I'm going way beyond your pay grade right now. So I'm going to just cut it off right here. So you see, it's necessary. It's just to better yourself if you know if you get and gain knowledge. Learn something. So that's how come my website exists. My website exists to help the beginning musician as well as the advanced. If you want, see, in other words, I don't claim to know everything, but I know what I know. And I am middleman and in no wise trying to negate these other ministries that are out there, because we got some great guys online that got some great knowledge of music theory, as well as they got the gift they got the musical ability. They are very well skilled in their playing. Matter of fact, I could just name a few. I don't mind doing this here because I got great respect for these guys. We were one of the first guys that I became acquainted with on the internet back in matter of fact, when he first started Hear and Play was Jermaine Grid. I was right there with Jermaine at the very start of Hear and Play. I was a moderator. I was the composition and theory man on his website at one time before the format was changed. Matter of fact, my buddy Hammond Man, he was also one of the moderators as well. We were right there in the very beginning of Hear and Play. So I know Jermaine is a very outstanding, great musician, great guy too, very great guy, humble, and very, very, very well. I mean, he got so much a great personality. His wife Sarah, and now I think he got maybe 2 kids. I think he got 2 girls. But we blessed. We thank God for Jermaine. We thank God for Sam Tolbert. I think a lot of you know Sam Tolbert. Now, according to where you're from, you might call him Tolbert, but Sam Tolbert, I call him Tolbert. Sam is an outstanding man of God, outstanding musician. Let me say this. Also, we got Ezra Buford, I think. We got Jamal Hartwell, great musician. Matter of fact, these are ones that got teaching sites. Now, I'm not to say all the ones that other musicians out there that are outstanding in what they do. Matter of fact, Brother JT, when I first came on back in the early days, I saw what he was doing, some tutorials about the different songs and whatnot. Very good tutorials he done. And matter of fact, I thought there was some great tutorials. And musicianship very well laid out, and the guy know how to play. And I think he's been playing and ministering music for quite a while. So you see, these are just a few. I want to name one more. David Sprummer. I remember him. I came across David Sprunger website years ago, and I even ordered some of his products. And here I am. I got 6 years of college. Know the theory from the base, from the ground up, and yet I was still influenced. Even from the Jermaine 300-page gospel book, I got that book. David Sprunger, I even got stuff from Sam, everywhere, and I got the theory from the ground up, and yet it's still I could deem it necessary to get more information because these guys came from things at another angle. Don't ever negate, and you always should be investing in your knowledge and in yourself, in your gift, in your talent. You always want to be growing. You want to increase. So with that being said, I'm going to tell y'all, go on by Walker's Music over there. Check out that musician's clinic. And matter of fact, don't be saying you want to learn and you don't have any resources, because there are many resources out there for you to gain knowledge. And it's not all about the money. I've told, as a matter of fact, everybody that I have come across to, if they wanted to learn, I've told them, do not let money keep you from doing it. Money is no option. Don't let money stop you, because money will take care of itself. But if you got the desire to learn, and you want to learn some musicianship and some theory behind your music, for you to be a better musician inside your home church or whatever arena or avenue that you might deal in, go on by Walker's Music, check out the musician clinic. Don't let money stop, because Middleman will help. Middleman will see whatever he can do to get you that knowledge that you need. Without money, no problem. God gonna take care of Middleman, as he always has. So with that being said, go on by walkersmusic.com, and remember that you can also get me by my web address at Ernest J. Walker, one word, small cap, at walkersmusic.com. That's my name, Walker with an S, music.com. With that being said, remember I always say this: whatever you get into, if God is not in it, you come out of it, because it's going to come to nothing. And remember, the prophet Elijah said, bring me a minstrel, one who is well skilled, that I may minister, that I may prophesy. So be that good minstrel. You be that great minstrel. You be the next minstrel that your pastor, he or she, may ask that for you to come and minister in your gift in the worship and praise of music inside your local church. God bless.